here of the Future Olympian. And if you caught our post yesterday, we were talking about posture. So when we're sitting in the saddle, one of the most important things that we really need to look at is our posture and how we are affecting our horses in that posture. So we talked about the very first thing, our shoulders. So when our shoulders come forward, when they come forward like this in the saddle, what starts to happen is we affect the movement of the horse forward. So if we're blocking the horse's movement forward, all of a sudden we cannot create the rhythm and the pace that we want to create because we're blocking too much. So how do we start to bring our shoulders back? So one of the main things that you hear people talk about is someone who walks around with their shoulders back has a lot of confidence, which is 100% true. It's generally those who carry a lot of confidence in themselves that are going to bring their shoulders back and they're going to look proud of themselves. But this also has another factor. So what happens when we bring our shoulders forward, it shows us that we have a weakness in the trapezius and the rhomboid. What are those? Where are those even located, right? So the rhomboid is located kind of in this square between the shoulder blades right through here. And the trapezius is right along the back of the neck. So how can we begin to strengthen those? Well, the first way that we can begin to strengthen those, and a lot of exercises we're going to see, is anything that does this pulling back motion, right? We see that everywhere. We see bands where they're pulling back. We see weights where we're pulling back. And these are all very effective in building up that area. So that's just one of the few things that you can start to do. Now, we've also talked about hollowing out the back. So when we bring the back way forward, we have to learn to tilt our pelvis back. So when we tilt our pelvis back, it straightens out our back. So what this generally means for someone who carries their back way out here is that they have extremely tight hamstrings. So they're tight through the hamstring, which is this muscle that runs down the back of our leg. And they're also very weak through that area. And a lot of times we forget to even train our hamstrings when we're working out. So, what other muscles are weak in this? So we have weak lower abdominals, and there's also a weakness through the hip flexors. So we have a lot of different things that are affecting this posture. So how can we begin to correct this? Well, your pelvic tilt is one. So you could lay on the floor, you could sit in a chair, and you could sit there and you could do pelvic tilts all day long. That's going to be one thing you could do. Another thing you could do is you could do kickbacks. So if you have a towel, if you have sliders, they're just round discs, you can use those as well. And all you're going to do is you're going to take your foot out in front of you, touching the ground, and bringing it back in an arc. So I know some of you, here, let me stand up on the stair, for those of you who can't see. So your foot's touching the ground, you're going to arc it around, and you're going to come down into a lunge. And you can do those. Those are going to help to strengthen that area as well. And also gives you the range of motion you need. The last thing that we talked about is when we're sitting in the saddle and we take our feet and we point them out and we brace in the stirrup, right? This is awful. Not only does this block our movement, it blocks our horses, and we end up fighting against them. And I was trying to do a bunch of research and figure out what the actual weakness was from this. And there's a couple different things that came across my mind. So what happens when you take your toes and you point them out is you grip with your calf and then you get extremely tense through the thigh. So what does that tell me? That tells me that you're one, nervous, that the horse could react. You could also feel like you don't have enough balance. So that's going to come from your core if you don't feel like you have that balance in there. And it could also come from the inner thigh muscle, because you just can't move the horse over in the way that you want to. And you're also going to have a very, very tight calf. So you're going to be extremely tight to the calf. So there's a variety of different things. So where do we even start with this, right? Where do we even begin to start this just correction? Well, it kind of goes back to those of us who hollow their back. So one of the exercises I didn't mention was a bridge. So when you come down on the floor and you come out like this, in this position, we can start by working our lower abdominals through that. So that's going to give us this 3D movement, because we really have to coordinate and balance our bodies in that movement. So that's going to kind of give us the correctness of balancing in the saddle. Another thing we can do, we can start to build the inner leg muscles. We can start to build the quads, the hamstrings. We can start by stretching the calves, getting them to relax, to come out of this place of terror, kind of, because I think this a lot of times happens if we're riding young horses, if we're new to riding, we don't have the confidence in our riding. There's a variety of different things that could be going on right here. So those are just my take on this. If you guys have other suggestions, if you have other comments, more questions, this is a really big topic and you're like, I just need to know all the answers, I can continue to do more research down this road. You guys just let me know. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you all very soon.